Why things seem so wonky and why everybody's drawing boundaries and why you may even feel like you've been trespassed upon today or this weekend. It's time for Astro Mondays with Chris Witecki, Sensei to Serious Joy from Serious Joy. We're going to be talking about the weekly forecast today. So if you're coming in, put in your where you're from, and then put in your sun, your moon, and your rising.
That was rude of the universe.
That was a completely weird one. I was like, I wasn't sure if you froze or I froze, and I started talking, and then I saw stuff going, and I thought that was me shut down.
Yes, it just went down there. And actually, I had a weird thing happen where it started over at the beginning of the video for some reason playing, and I'm like, what? Went through time, and then it was like ended. I was like, okay.
No,
So, anyways,
what do you think that is? Is that a shift in time zone? Time?
we might have just entered into a new universe, Gary.
Sometimes because the way it happens and when it happens, it's like right when I'm about to reveal that secret to somebody, poof, the phone goes off.
That happens for me on reading. So I'm like, so the reason you were born, hello, hello.
Yeah, that happens
Like what I'm about to say.
all the time to me.
Yeah.
Right when I'm about to say it, though, when it's usually when I'm about to deliver something that's really controversial,
Yep.
or something that's really impactful to somebody.
Yes, me too. And I find it like with Aquarius more than anything. So it's like Aquariuses have sort of Esmeralda syndrome from Bewitched. You remember that witch, her cousin that would disappear whenever she was nervous, like would just
Yeah.
like Aquas will do the same thing. If I'm about to deliver something, they have the power to short circuit stuff. But the moon is at 29 Leo right now, and it might have just moved into Virgo. I'm very curious. I don't have my. They might have
Oh,
just moved
that
to
would make sense.
Or yeah, into Virgo. Yeah, might have just moved
I
there.
have one of my 29s. She's a 29 Leo is here right now.
Oh wow, was she just see if she's deflated? Has she wilted suddenly? Like
Hey, and
it's
you're gonna get back
also
to me about the time with that group. I'd love to do it soon. So
yes, actually, starting it back to you. Yesterday was really weird. I've been feeling so to answer your question, energy's been weird since the eclipse last weekend.
yeah.
I had lunar. I mean, we had talked about on Monday having a lunar eclipse hangover. That hangover lasted all week for me. Like I was
Did you
just
feel tired in your body?
yes, I felt very tired in my body.
Like
Yes, and
kind of like hungover, can't trying to keep yourself awake.
yes.
I had to take naps in between meetings and then lay on the bed and just like chill out.
That's exactly how I felt. It was huge energy drain. And I slept in. Like I like woke up, I'm like, oh, and it was like 11:30. I'm like, what the like my body just slept in like all morning. My family's been texting me like, where are you? And I don't know. Like my body just was somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, I was tired. And I was tired yesterday too. Same thing.
Yeah, I've had it. I've had this ensuing tiredness since the eclipse, and literally dragging myself from meeting to meeting,
Yes.
and having to shut down and take naps throughout the day.
Yeah.
And because we have a pretty high, like I'm can be sometimes on like 5 or 6 hours a day straight talking to people like this, and they do it frequently over time. And normally it doesn't bother me, but I was thinking, is it Scorpio or is it the eclipse?
I think it's the combination of the two, really, as a good lead in there. So I think that eclipse was the drawing of a line with certain mental activity. So we talked about that last week, how, like we had sort of replay of where our mind gets caught up in things. But it's almost like when we're cutting out of an old story that we were born to, a karmic story. And I kind of feel like those karmic stories usually like impose fight or flight kind of scenarios. And like now the story's over, it's almost like we're not motivated. Like the energy that was motivating us, which was adrenaline, is sort of gone because the
Right.
story's over. That's how I interpreted it. It's like whenever I overcome something really major in my life, I always am tired for a long time afterwards
Yeah.
because so much of my energy was like coming from fight or flight. Like so much it was coming from that adrenaline of running away or of standing up to it. And then when you suddenly don't have an adversary, it's like, oh, well, now what do I do? Like, where do I get my energy? Right? Like, so I think we're feeling coming down off of our karmic, you know, what's the word? And even probably in the body, there's probably some chemistry there too with hormones happening as a result. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because we're holding on to an emotion. Like what I find is trauma especially when we're talking karmic, there's lots of karma, trauma that's held in our karma. And the way I see it is like we're a computer and our hard drive's like half full. And then we open up our zip files, which is all this trauma that's been stored because I had a traumatic event. I just put it away and I don't think about it. And then every once in a while I think about it, I go, no, I don't want to think about it. Well, that's like taking another piece of trauma that's related to that event, pushing it down until all of a sudden one day I decide to open that up and then my hard drive is full again. And then I work it out, process it, and then open another one up, hard drive's full. And that's where for some people who feel this is where the water weight comes from. Because trauma in itself, in the nervous system, it's like a concentrate. It gets into the nervous system and it populates. It's like orange juice. And it goes, it fills up. Then your body has to work it out and it takes about 3 days.
That's interesting. I lost about 7 pounds this week. And I don't know, it must have been water weight because it was just like, I'm in a boot right now. I sound like a Canadian. Everything's a boot something. But like,
sound like a Canadian, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Canadian. It's all a boot.
So you're right now, you're out in a boot.
I'm out in a boot. Yes, exactly.
You're outside in a boot, so you're out in a boot.
But like I should be gaining weight because I'm not walking like I normally am. You know, like I'm not, but I've lost weight this week.
Listen, I am completely done with the myth that weight is controlled by calories and by activity. I completely done because, you know, clinically you'd have this where, you know, you have two people, twins. One responds to stimulus, one doesn't. And you got to ask why. And then the other one is somebody who's doing everything right and you can verify it and they're not gaining or losing weight. And then the vice versa.
Yeah.
And there's just too many of those cases where it doesn't seem to work out. But if I'm taking care of myself and then doing something I want, working towards a goal, I'm going to process trauma in that process because there's a lot of times in my life I wasn't. So you can measure the commensurate activity of activity against it to measure weight gain or loss. But like when I went back up to Canada this year, we had gone through 6 months in Mexico of processing, working in a group, had people here, had our team here. And it was like being in therapy every day for 6 months. And I go back up to Canada and I decided I'm going to not even do factual maneuvers, basically. I'm just going to do the bare minimum for the summer and see what happens. So I'm going to see if I stop, what does my body do? Well, within 10 days, I had given away 20 pounds of weight.
Wow.
And then my body started looking like I was working out. People go, "You working out?" I'm like, "No." And this is about the accumulation of trauma and stress. And then we get this yo-yo response from our body. Like if you're like losing weight for a bodybuilding contest, the first thing I do is take away your scale because you measure every day and you say, I'm not losing weight, so you go off your diet and you try to slam your diet, but then all of a sudden it's like you get caught up because it's momentum that you're building. And if you change your routine too quick, then you'll screw up that momentum.
Okay.
So I can tell you conclusively one way to measure, well, this is another way, is like people think they run on a treadmill and that they're running on the treadmill is like to get their cardiovascular up.
Yeah.
But after they've done it for a year, they can run 30 minutes and not even sweat.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
But if I get you in a pretzel squat, 12 breaths and you're pouring sweat.
Yes. Yes, I've had that same experience. Exactly. Your body gets conditioned to it. So I don't think it really starts to count anymore.
Yeah. And the formula of work equals force times distance to measure metabolic function. There's a measure if I lift up a heavy weight and move, but it's actually not the weight or the distance. It's the amount of blood volume that moves through the lungs to do that. That's why over time doing the same thing, I get less and less cardiovascular out of it because I've done it before. My body's used to it. Conditioned.
Yeah, totally conditioned. So what is the secret? So did I hear the secret of how to lose weight in that? I don't think so.
Yeah. We're living it right now. The secret to lose weight is literally it's managing your emotions in real time. But it takes a moment because when I started doing that, you remember I got really fat for a while and during the pandemic. And then because I had everything constant for years, the constant stimulus or lack of stimulus, the constant type of eating style and diet. So that was all constant. So my weight went like this.
Yeah.
And so then I could map it against that and say, well, that had nothing to do with my inputs. I did the same things every day, ate the same things basically, did the same maneuvers. And then why did I gain weight and why did I lose it? Well, the only thing left was my emotional response.
Yes, that's a good point. After my little fall last year, uh, I once it ended, like so, I was walking around this island, nervous the whole time I was doing my issue, and then I finally came down off of that, and I gained 25 pounds. Like
Yeah,
my body just gained 25 pounds. There was
yeah,
no change in my exercise. There's no change in my diet. Nothing. I just
yeah,
ballooned up, and it was almost like I don't know. I think it was the. I think I didn't process the. I was in fight or flight during the thing, but I didn't really process what I'd emotionally gone through until it was over.
yeah.
Kind of like, kind of like you don't really realize you got married until you're a day in the honeymoon. You're like, holy crap, I got married.
Yeah. So at the end of it, look at, I don't even move in this world before I have a desire. So my brain can't even connect to movement until there's a desire to move. So emotion is what drives it. So if emotion drives motion, then emotion is ultimately responsible for the metabolic function. And that's why if I get stressed out, all of a sudden all my hormones rage, my metabolic function changes. I get adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol. Even if I'm sitting on the couch, all of a sudden my heart's racing, I'm
Mm,
sweating. So this is
right.
why this so just definitely no longer do I believe in the calories in, calories out working. I mean, you can get a result, but that is a result that's temporary. It's like changing the RPMs on your car. It's not going to change your speed necessarily. It's just going to make you shifting down a gear, up a gear is going to make your engine work harder, but it doesn't necessarily change your speed.
Yeah, makes you very hangry
Yeah.
too. Hangry.
So,
Yeah. I get all angry.
so after okay, so we've got the full moon and lunar eclipse last week. It's been like just like wading through mud for me. And some people are not. Some people are energy, but it's been like Jason. He's an Aquarius. He's a Sag Aquarius with Pisces because he's 25 degrees. So he has great energy throughout the week, very stable. And me, I'm like pulling myself to each meeting. So
Yeah.
that was different responses to the stimulus.
Yeah.
So what kind of stimulus do we got coming up this week? Because I'm seeing, by the way, a couple of things I noticed this week is a whole bunch of people reporting they go into like Wells Fargo and their bank accounts are gone.
Oh, completely gone? Because I've heard that like direct deposits weren't coming.
Completely gone. You know, like I 10 people right in a row, completely gone. They have all their records of stuff going in, but the bank shows they don't even have an account anymore. And you know, Wells Fargo was the one I had the challenge with.
Okay.
They're the ones that took money from me. So
Well, I'm gonna have to go check
and
my Wells account now.
so
I don't know.
there's something happening. I can feel it.
Yes. Well, okay. So Scorpios are where we draw the lines. And, up until that eclipse, it was all inner boundaries with ourselves. I think that's part of the reason of the sluggishness. This week, I call this week forging the shield because now we're going to be drawing boundaries with our outer life, boundaries with people, boundaries with banks, boundaries with business. So it's about defining those boundaries. We go from step 12 to step 18 this week. Step 11 was Saturday, so that was coming into our health and integrity. And so everyone's gearing up for some sort of maybe a sword fight. That could be a fair thing to say, but where there's going to be a line drawn, either a line drawn on you or you drawing a line or mutual lines happening. And it's going to get really real. In fact, the moon just moved into Virgo. So things will become very hyper aware, very real, I think, in your face as far as what you're feeling, like undeniable. So it's sort of like, for instance, if you have someone that you work with and they're just always late, always dropping the ball, that type of colleague, it's just going to reach a boiling point this week where you're just like, enough is enough. Like you just, and I think so. We're going to see a lot of breakups, I think, honestly, between now and Sagittarius. I think we're going to see a lot of breaking up. That's also compounded by the South Node in Libra, which means it's the end of certain relationship cycles. Saturn in Pisces, the end of certain karmic cycles. So we're going to see a lot of the end, you know. And the other cool, exciting part about the high degrees of Scorpio is, revealing, revealing that curtain, showing the wizard behind the curtain, showing the corrupt behind the bank, there's a lot of exposure happens in Scorpio, a lot of nudity.
Yeah. You're
Right. So,
seeing it. You're seeing it. I mean, Disneyland was, I guess, getting shut down for a day because some his parents had kids go into a tunnel.
oh
We've
my
got.
God.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, I'm just looking all over. You got the what's happening over in Israel, and then people are so focused on the war. They're so hyper focused on the war. They're missing all the social economic lines being drawn. They're going to draw up a new Suez Canal, and while all of that's going on, we're missing what's happening in the economic politics section. So it's like there's deception happening everywhere, and it's like right in front of us.
It's being revealed. I found what interesting. I don't follow all the news, but I saw last week that the House passed a resolution to fund Israel, but take it out of the IRS's budget, which I was like, whoa. Because if the IRS had a sign, it would be Scorpio. You know what I mean? Like, so, which is really interesting and very complicated if you think about it, if you understand what the IRS really is and what
Because
income
the
tax really
IRS
is.
doesn't work for the government.
That's right. It's
IRS works for the Federal
they
Reserve.
do. They work for the central bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I found that as, and they're saying, oh, it's going to be vetoed or whatever, but it
Yeah.
exposes how, the money. Now everyone's talking about the IRS is not really affiliated with the federal government. It's actually a World Bank, INS, Department of the INS. So we're really defunding, the INS, right, to some degree in that case, right?
Sure.
And I saw videos of IRS building being vacant in DC. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's like there's a lot of weird
They
stuff.
hired they hired an inordinate amount of people to come after it because I mean for them that's revenue. I mean collections is revenue. That's their money. But the truth of how we get money is based upon the residency and citizenship. And that
Yes,
truth is coming. I mean, this is why we're flooding people into the United States right now. It's
your
because
birth
yeah,
certificate,
that's
right?
how you deal with your debt. Is you get more, you have more residents, you have more money that's given to you from the federal.
Oh, that's fascinating. There's been a lot of speculation because we've quite clearly, and I don't, again, I'm not on the border, but I have friends in Texas. I have a home in Texas. It's like, uh, it's reported like such high. Why the heck out of nowhere is there just sudden flood into the United States? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and why are we suddenly clearly not doing anything about it? Like nothing,
yeah.
right? So it's been interesting. So I think we're building up to something. Actually, my team and I meet every Monday morning, and we were looking ahead at the beginning of December, and it looks like I'll just put it right here on the record. We'll pick it up in a future show, but right around the 28th and 29th of November, something is going down. There's no
I
question.
feel it in my bones. It's like the first part of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is going to rock people's world.
Yeah.
And coming up to, I mean, it did even last year, but this year it's like it's nothing can hide, and nothing can hide from a spiritual perspective this year.
I think that's true. And Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, that's a lot of energy to spiritual truth. And Saturn's about cutting through the bullshit. So it's like I think we're gonna see truth. The question is what will we do about it? And the sun, Pluto's at 28 degrees Capricorn. Now, the relevancy of that is it's going to be at 28 for 6 weeks, which is basically until December 21st is when it goes to 29.
On the
Yeah.
equinox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
on the
And
birthday.
on your birthday, right. So, and at that point, Pluto will never be at 28 again. So 28 would be the formation of the new government, basically. That'll be the formation. That would be the final formation. And I think that was, back in the American Revolution, we were really forming the government at that point. The last time Pluto was in 1777 was the last time Pluto was at
That
28.
means a lot of stuff has to break between now and then. So 6 weeks, stuff has to break.
Yeah, because after this, it's all retaliation, test, resistance, refusal. So whatever happens in this 6 week period, it's the cause of all the conflict in 2024, right before Pluto goes in Aquarius. And Pluto will never be in this because 29 is not a creation degree. It's a break the seal degree. It's a push the envelope degree. It's a test the limits degree. But it's not a like kumbaya come together degree, right? Like it's always pushing the envelope. So the point is something's going to form here before Christmas that is going to be, I think, the stage we're dealing with. We're going to see the stage.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel that. I feel
yeah.
that. I mean, it's happening in human health. It's, I mean, there's some really, but that being said, like we were saying before, there's no other time in the world to live. I mean, like we're reaching out to this company right now that takes and puts these black blinds on kids and then teaches them to read, choose colors, play basketball, sports with complete blackout. And now
Huh.
they have a system to teach adults how to do that, which means that these eyes aren't the only way to interpret what's there. That
Yeah.
means it's our entropic field. So in other words, we're becoming more intelligent in our own sensory processing. And these things are all coming to light right now. Um,
Yes.
and I feel like we've been pushing that edge. That's why our bodies have been changing so much because we voluntarily went into this whole switch ourselves years ago.
Yeah. Pluto and Aquarius, I think it's on. You know, for what you and I do, we are actually ahead of we're ahead of our time. Like
Yeah.
our time technically starts in November of 2024 when Pluto enters into Aquarius for 24 solid years. 24 years of elevating spirit higher and higher. And think of Pluto as sort of like the final line. So it's sort of like Pluto's sort of like the walls closing in. It's just like, oh, now sorry, this doesn't exist anymore. Okay, now sorry, this doesn't exist. So it's like there's no Pluto's mantra is to change or die. Like you have no choice. So we're going to be forced to go higher vibration for 24 straight years consecutively.
And 24 is 6 is to bring balance back. So it's
Yeah.
Libra. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the baby boom. The baby boom was 24 years in Leo. This is the opposite sign of Aquarius. So this is the anti-baby boom transit. And where many baby boomers will probably start to depart, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, that's already happening. I mean, you're gonna get the weird ones too, like Matthew Perry
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
That
Yeah,
was a weird, yeah, that he literally died on the eclipse. I mean, it was like,
he
yeah,
did, but his videos coming up to leading up to that were like
his back.
he was
I'm Matt Man.
yeah, Matt,
I'm Matt Man.
but he's also gonna, he also I'll send it to you. He's also had some reference to this way back in Friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
That's interesting. Wow, that's really fascinating. Huh. Yeah, some weird, interesting stuff there. I didn't look up his chart. I should look up his chart, but yeah.
Hey, so what is that? So okay, we got a framework. There's just shit changing, and right now, I mean, sorry, shit's changing. So what it feels like to me is that all of the stuff that we've been waiting for, we've been talking about, it's starting to happen. And right now, it's changing in people's personal bodies because it changes in my bodies first, and
Yep.
then once it's in my body, then I can perceive the world a different way. So I have to change here first. Then my perception, I see things I didn't see before.
Mm.
And then that comes into the third 3 month segment, which is I'm going to see it in the world now. So
Yes.
I'm going to see it myself, I'm going to see it in my community, and then see it in the world.
100%. Yes. We are with Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, I think at 4 degrees Virgo right now, you're going to face your fears of changing on the inside this week. So this week, if you have any fear of changing on the inside, and people, you go, why would you be afraid of changing? It's really that you don't want to be uncomfortable, so it's really facing your fear of going to be uncomfortable, like if you're going to have to
Yeah,
wake up
I
early.
mean, yeah, because I say this all the time. When the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, humans change, but not until then.
Yep.
I mean, an individual may break out and change. That's what you did. That's what we did.
Yep.
But the average in society is not going to change until that pain is great enough.
Yeah, I agree. So we're crafting the change. So this week is really about sculpting the change. Venus is moving into Libra this week, which is going to be a good thing. So things with Venus in Virgo, sort of realities in your face. There's no, the joke of a person of Venus and Virgos when you're leaning in for a kiss, they point out you got food in your teeth. It's sort of unromantic. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of a buzzkill. Venus Virgo, no offense to Venus and Virgos, like y'all take good care, but like it's not romantic. Venus in Libra is very romantic in the sense that our hearts are going to open up starting Wednesday, where they haven't really been open since Leo, since the sun was in Leo back in the summer. So there's going to be a burst of creativity, a burst of romance, a burst of desire that happens after Wednesday. Sort of like we're very thirsty and we need a drink of that. So that's something to look forward to this week.
You know,
And sort of,
next week on Monday, we go to Costa Rica, and then a couple days later, all of our people come in. That's we have one of our reset. I don't want to call it a retreat because we're not retreating. We're teaching people to reset. So we have people coming from all over the world to Costa Rica, right in the top degrees of Scorpio. I mean, I couldn't think of a better time to do it myself.
yeah, that's a great time. No, perfect. And with Venus in Libra, it'll be, lubricated, so to speak. There'll be some beautification, some enjoyment, some restoration to balance. So, we've been sort of like driving on a rocky terrain, and the things do start to smooth out here towards the end of the week, which is good. Venus in Libra is very welcome. She's home in that sign, by the way. Venus rules Libra, Libra rules Venus, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. So basically, if how long does Venus stay in Libra?
About 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Six
Yeah,
weeks.
about
So
six.
that's
Yeah.
going to take us fully into the middle of the second phase, which is boundaries with our community.
Yes, and and it's going to open up for creativity. So actually, it's perfect timing for solution. So Venus and Libra, Venus is open and Libra is open. So I think what ends up happening on a psychological level is you can be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not okay. I'll try it. Like Venus and Libra, it's like finally you just sort of like you just feel open to it where you weren't before. So I think it's very beneficial to any kind of transformative work that you want to do. If you've been resisting, Venus sort of like just sort of talks you into it. Sort of just kind of gets you on that page. It's a good time for coming together with people
Uh,
too.
it's perfect because I just did a post on urine therapy today, and
Urine therapy?
yeah, and it's like, and it's one of those ones that's so powerful, but people are because we've been taught to think it's bad, but it's actually one of the most powerful healing mechanisms. And I'm laughing because just for me, it's like it took me 10 years of watching people literally lives transform. And before I said, okay, I'll do that. Literally in front of me, like people who had like you're going to die, now you're not. And then I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna try it. So I just did a post on it today, and it's already like hundreds of thousands of views in a couple of hours, right? And lots of talk.
Wow.
So I'm laughing because this is what people are doing. They're being talked into that next stage of taking care of themselves.
Yes, I would say so. And return to divine feminine. Venus and Libra is divine feminine. So that opening up to self-care, opening up to nurturing, opening up to our emotional needs, whereas before we might have like powered through. So you could say that the second half of Scorpio is going to be so much more gentle than the first half. We've been sort of, it's been very intense, like a school bus on a rocky road. And now we're going to finally kind of get onto some smooth pavement.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better because it has this first we're step 14 right now
Yep.
as of a couple hours ago. So we're halfway through the transit, and
Tomorrow is 15. Yeah.
yeah, and then that's when and technically tomorrow is when is that when Venus comes back in or Venus is
Yes.
still yeah.
Venus enters into Libra on Wednesday early morning. So between Tuesday
Okay.
and Wednesday, we start to feel it. So real ironic. That's the thing. Venus goes into Libra, the sign of six, when the sun is at 15 at six. It actually crosses, and I see that all the time happen. By the way, that
That's what I was going to say. You get that just means to me that major rebalancing is going to happen.
totally, and the coordination.
So
When I call it a soul harmonic, but when you have all the planets singing the same net number, then it's an orchestrated, choreographed event of the universe. pulling us. Like everything is pulling you in that
So
direction.
when things come back together for people, there's a feeling like some people are like, well, everything's going to be perfect, but if their perception is not right, you have to look at what's changing and saying whatever that change is, it's the perfect change, not necessarily one you may have thought in your mind. And that's where people get messed up a little bit, right?
I agree. I think, well, I mean, this is the game I play with myself. It's never what I thought. So it's never what I thought. It's never like it's always there's always a surprise. So now I think about stuff to avoid collapse, to avoid that stuff because I know if I thought about it, it's not going to happen. But like there's always a surprise ending, which is the co-creation of the universe. That's what makes life fun. But yeah, you have to let go of that perception. I would say so. Here's a trend. The full moon, the new moons until March are all at 20 degrees. So the new moons for five
Cool.
consecutive
Community.
emotional, and I call it the emotional cradle. It's sort of like making the bed that you're going to lie in. You know what I mean? Like 20 is like your emotional comfort zones, your emotional cradle. And to me, that's the guidepost because when you're in brand new territory, there's no logic, there's no history to teach you. There's nothing to go by. It's sort of like being in the jungle. You just got to kind of feel your way through this jungle. So God is saying, okay, you're going to feel your way to the future for the next 5 months consecutively, 2020, 2020. We have a 4-degree full moon this month. We have a 4-degree full moon next month. And then all the full moons are all 5 degrees, full moon, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And to me, that is us having to, reperception ourselves over and over and over again, how we perceive ourselves, how we mentally perceive ourselves. And I'm actually calling it's time to genius yourself because I think we're beyond the whole, fight or flight collapse. It's now time to get genius with yourself
So
and mastermind yourself.
the changes though that are coming in, some people are still going to perceive them as collapse, fight or flight. And then some people are going to perceive them as, oh my gosh, it's changing, thank God, and welcoming it. And it's going to be the same event. It's going to be
Yeah.
their perception.
Yeah. I think depending on I think there's no way of skipping steps, literally, in my step system. Like you can't skip steps. So if you haven't had the Sky is Falling chapter yet, then you have to take that course.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You just call it life, kid. Like there's no way out of it. You and I have been doing that for at least 9 years. So we're ready to move on to Utopia.
Okay, I gotta going back and looking at it. I could do it in 1 or 2 years right now, or I could do it over 10 years. We took over the 10 years, but the point was for me, it was knowing that I was creating an understanding that everybody else was going to go through, like what we went through 3 years ago. The rest of the world's literally going through today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually the case. I usually experience astrology events a little early. Like one of the things happening is Mars is starting to oppose Uranus this week, which is also the tearing down of certain societal structures, like literally. So, and I think I'm already feeling some of that tension.
Yeah,
That something's gonna collapse or fall apart under its own weight.
yeah.
So there's some demolition that's gonna happen. And if this story you're telling me about Wells Fargo is happening, that could be a demolition of
Yeah,
part of the banking system.
and it could be a 10 isolated cases on the same day that reported it on TikTok. I mean, that could be two, but the reality is, if one person's saying it, there's 100 or 1,000 that have the same thing going on that no one's saying anything about. They don't have
Yeah,
a
I do think I get the feeling that there's something going on in the banking system, anyways.
Yeah, banking and insurance for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
like State Farm pulled out of California. That
Oh,
means yeah,
wow. Wow.
State Farm pulled out of California. So they're like, well, we were insuring you guys for all these years, but we don't want to anymore. There's just like, you got to know that somebody knows something at some level. They just don't pull out for no reason at all. And they can justify it however they want, but they can justify it by economy, change in population, all that stuff. But their actuaries build that. They know that's coming. So they're already well built into that. So that's a strategic decision.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they're like, we're not State Orchard, we're only State Farms. Like, I mean, that's their official spin on it. But no, I mean, they're one of the more conservative insurance companies I find. Like
Yeah.
they take least risk, very, very safe. So, that I wouldn't be surprised if more follow their pursuit. But that tells you something right there, Governor Newsom.
Yeah, I think that like I'm from Canada. You could just see our political system just like crapping out. You also get the election next year. It's going to be. There's no way this can't be a gong show. So it's just letting the gong show happen. But what we're doing is we have like we were supposed to go to India. That can't happen now because our visas can't go. They were supposed to go to Egypt. We decided not to. Something was there. Good thing we didn't go. We're supposed to go to Cabo. We decided not to. There's a hurricane there. So we're planning to be in Philippines and Indonesia, Bali, stuff like that for mid-January to mid-February in that area, about a month.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, because we have a massive growing population over there. We're going to go there and see them in person because when we go there, there's like 10, 15, 20,000 people at an event.
Wow.
Here you got,
Wow.
4, 5, 6,000 people at an event. So we can get to, and ours is really not, it's not about money for us. It's all about bodies. It's about getting more people to help more people.
Yeah.
And so, but we're talking about it, but we're having these conversations which are non-committal in every aspect because, like we were supposed to stay in Costa Rica for a month, but doesn't look like it now, and we have all these things that are changing so fast. So we have a 3 month kind of a wish list. We have about a 2 month loose plan, and we have a 1 month 1 month committed plan that's still open to change. And that's how we've adjusted to live our life this way, which, we have team members, we have people we're moving around and stuff like that. It's like, so what do we do for Christmas? Well, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see is it. Yeah. I think that's the way we have to play it. I think there are some surprises. The astrology certainly shows where there's going to be surprises. It looks like the holidays will be a little tense for some reason.
It
With
feels
Pluto
like,
29.
yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like it. So what's coming up the rest of the week? Wednesday, we get a change.
Well,
Basically, where the balance starts. So what is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday look like?
so Thursday, Friday, Saturday is all get ready, get set, go. So it's 16 on Thursday, 17 on Friday, 18 on Saturday. So everyone is meditating on pulling the lever on something. And this is probably drawing a big line in your life. Now, it might just be that you're making a decision that's going to take a while to implement, or it may be that you are absolutely saying no and closing the door on something in these next 3 days. But this is what I call forging the shield. Basically, people are putting up their walls to protect themselves, basically, for the future, or to preserve themselves for the future. So this is probably a hard line in the sand that you're drawing. And then the sun. Then we have a new moon. New moon is 20 degrees, emotional cradle.
Right.
So we're sort of like kind of closing up business. It feels more like closure than it feels like opening to me
Yeah.
in Scorpio. Like I don't feel like we're ready to open up yet to what's going to replace. I think we're closing down
I
certain
think
things. So it's
that's why
really
Sagittarius is going to be so impactful this year because Sagittarius is like we go from closing it down to next venture.
actually you're completely on point there. So this Sagittarius year is going to be profoundly exciting, I think, in
Yeah.
the sense that there's just a new story brewing, a new chapter. And again, at the end of the month, the 28th to 29th, it looks like there's a real like curveball that happens that I think shifts the narrative. So as we like to say, make your plans, but plan to change your plans just as you're living, Gary, because I think there's some surprises coming that's going to unfold that changes the narrative altogether. What I find fascinating here politically in the United States is, and I don't take a side either way. I'm against violence. I'm against terrorism. But the United States has become very pro. There's a huge faction in the United States that's uh, pro Iran and pro
Yeah.
with Palestine. And I think that the media was kind of like drumming, beating the drum to be only pro Israel. and the population has been much more humanitarian about it, having compassion for the people and blaming governments, which is very new, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, they're drumming it up. And no matter what you say on both sides, is that a war is a very convenient way to realize that there's something else happening. I was about to say something, and I audited my speech as before it came out because I was going to drop a fact bomb, but I'm not going to do it at this point.
yeah,
I don't think it's
follow
great.
your gut, follow your
Yeah.
gut.
So there's just a lot of energy about conversation over here, which means that there's a lot of stuff going on over here. And, my former life was keeping secrets for the people over here and the people over here, but a lot of the people over here. And what I feel based on my background is that the truth of all of that stuff over here on the left hand is they're trying hard to wipe it clear, to not let it be seen, but it's too big right now. The world's going to see it all.
Yeah, the dirty laundry is going to be exposed for sure. And I would expect that with Pluto at 29 Capricorn, for the second to the last time, this now and then again next summer are the real, probably collapse of certain power structures, frankly.
Yeah.
Outdated, corrupt power structures starting to collapse, which were overdue. So I don't think anyone is going to be sad about it, whatever it happens to be. Like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Will be sort of, I think.
You can see though that this is where I want people to really get this, is that everything that's happening is super exciting. Never in the history of mankind have we been able to see all of this happening in one lifetime. And the other part too is that the way that we see this is through the human vehicle, the vehicle that we're given to be here with. And right now we have been there's a constant attack to pollute and disrupt this vehicle. I mean, Elon Musk said the other day, he said there's some plants that people had better really put into their journey right now, or into their awareness. And he goes like Irish sea moss. And I'm like, yeah, we've been telling people that for a lot of times, because he knows, I mean, at his level, he knows what's going on. He knows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he actually was on Joe Rogan last week, I think.
He was. It was funny to listen to him.
I liked watching him because, for one, he's got the capacity to be good or evil. He's building links into your brain. So I'm always like looking to see what side. But I really like what he had to say in that last speech, especially he's calling it what's the word, extinctionists.
Yeah,
That's his term. That's a good term for it.
I think anybody at that level, there are factions of power around the world from my past, and they all have their billionaires, their politicians, their celebrities, and that's what's dueling right now. Is those are their knights and their warriors are the billionaires, the celebrities, and they own different corporations and different assets in different parts of the world. That's what's coming to a clash behind the scenes. That's what we're not seeing right now.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, you get like you just can't miss like the things like, I'll go way on the conspiracy side for a minute. You can't miss the fact that Michael Jackson had Q under Neverland Ranch, and Princess Di is buried under a Q. And
wow.
Yeah, and you can't miss the facts that they have MK Ultra and all these other things that are coming. I mean, first of all, all the documentation for this was put out with Julian Assange.
Right. Yeah. Who I didn't see it, but didn't what's his face? Tucker just went and interviewed Julian Assange, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, so but he put everything out. And so anybody who wants to can go look. The amazing part is people aren't looking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're very distracted by selfies and photo ops. And all sorts of technology and video games and things like that. We fill our day with, streaming television.
Everybody's a celebrity today. Everybody is like, hey, look at myself. Yeah, it's funny because we're in Cancun, so everybody's down at the beach, and you see everybody like all these guys and these boyfriends of women taking selfie pictures, and they're doing all that on the beach, and you can just see it like literally across the beach, them all doing it, and I'm like, Oh my gosh. I mean, like literally, you spent 3 hours taking pictures. Just get in the freaking water.
It is funny. If you go to like a children's recital now, like as soon as the recital starts, the entire audience lifts their phones to the kid. Like you see the entire, like raising your hand, like the entire, suddenly there's 600 cameras, in the audience. It's
Well,
really funny to
it's
watch.
secretly it's a good thing because human beings don't raise their arms anymore, which causes a deficit
Okay.
in the shoulder hip ratio.
So
So
thank God.
somehow it's
Yeah.
actually helping us.
Yeah. Yeah. In the end, it is. It is fascinating though. They have a camera, everyone having a camera now. How much is just being recorded everywhere? It's
So
fascinating. Yeah.
we're out of the muck. That was last week. Coming up to
Yep.
Wednesday, we're like done with it. Now it's a matter of telling the people that are in old narratives, old patterns, old belief systems that hey, this thing that's happening, it's actually good.
It is. It is all good. It'll be, people are going to take sides. I personally think that none of the above is the choice to make now. So I think that's the choice, none of the above. Just to see, but we basically climb a mountain all the way up through Capricorn. So we're going to actually just keep climbing and seeing higher and higher and higher through the end of Scorpio, then Sagittarius, a new story, then climbing up Capricorn, a new sense of power and strength, and then Aquarius sort of mapping out like the higher dimensions. And then when we get to Pisces, it's sort of like, wow, it's a whole new story now for us. And so then things get really serious again in Aries, as far as conflict is concerned, because our next solar eclipse is 19 degrees
Yeah.
Aries on April 7th.
And that's where, man. I mean, I love watching the Simpson predictions.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, yeah. And are they predictions or are they programming code?
Yeah. They could be either. A show
Yeah,
that's on the air for that many years is one of the appendages of the network, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. I do expect conflict, but it feels like to me that people who need the conflict will be in it. People
yep.
who are above it, who have already worked the conflict out, are just going to be somewhere else. I mean, if you think about even like a war, even like World War II, there was a very small number of people that went over and fought it. The rest of them lived their lives.
Yep. And supported
In the
it.
Civil War, I mean, by the time the Civil War ended, it was like 6 months to 9 months before some people even knew the war ended. They didn't even know it started at first.
Yes. It is a select few. I actually don't think conflict is going to be the way. I think that's the big surprise. Like I said,
Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of, I think, expectation. The media expected people to take really hard sides
yeah.
with Hamas versus Israel. And I'm finding over and over again, people are saying, oh, it's horrible that people are being hurt. They're refusing to take a side other than the humanitarian side. And I think that's
That's going to win,
shocking.
right? I
That's
feel
shocking
that's
the
going to win.
system.
I
I
feel that
really
is
do.
it. I feel we're not going to. I feel the hype of the war is to just to try and drive the war economy the back, but the people are saying no longer want to do that. I mean, in France, they're driving by and spraying the parliament buildings with manure.
Oh my God, the French.
Yeah, and and
They don't
and
screw
all the way
around.
through, and there's like literal revolutions happening with millions of people in the squares of cities and capitals all over the world. We don't really hear it, but like we have people in 80 countries, so we've got somebody somewhere going, no, no, that's the truth. This is the truth. And
Yeah.
when I'm getting feedback, that's what I love about our worldwide network is that I get feedback that you don't see anywhere else. And you really can't trust anything in the media today. Nothing.
No, I mean, and from what I understand, we couldn't since World War II. Even
Yeah,
Randolph Hearst was,
it's
known, like
started in
documented.
1940 with David Oppenheimer. It was the creation of public relations in conjunction with the CIA to craft a narrative. And what we're in the middle of in the United States and Canada's color revolution.
Yes, absolutely. And Hitler was doing the same thing at the same time with their propaganda. And really, that's when you really start. That was the first time when mass media and propaganda became kind of merged. Was it that last time Uranus is in Taurus? Ironically.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna climb. This week is just gonna be a constant rebalancing, kind of like let go,
Yeah.
and then we're coming into the master levels of Scorpio where we're gonna learn some deep truths.
Yes, and I think also, I think there's a lot of half truths out there. I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of lies are. They're half truths, which
Sure.
are really brilliant. That's the brilliant way to lie, because your intuition's like, it's not like, it's not clear enough to say that's a lie, but it's also not true enough to go, that's correct. And so
Yes.
I think part of the you're probably working up to some sort of a big dump, okay, this week. So I think there's a big cut, there's a big dump. I think there's going to be something that is a monkey on your back that you finally say enough is enough. I think that's really what this, and it's sort of, and probably you've been fighting for it, trying to keep it alive, resuscitating it, whatever it is in your life. It could be a relationship, it could be a job. And then beyond that, like taking that to the dump, whatever that is, which is Saturday, by the way. Saturday and Sunday, you're like, that's it. Then suddenly we're flying high, and then in the 20s we're making very subtle distinctions. It's like it's this but on a Wednesday, like, and so it becomes a lot lighter from the new moon on Monday on. But I
Mhm.
think part of that's because we've gotten rid of a lot of weight. Something that's been weighing on us is
It,
what's going to
it
be
feels
cut.
like it just feels like it feels like there's less intensity coming up, which is going to be after a major traumatic event is when people then start feeling it in their bodies.
Uh-huh.
So this
Yeah.
is why I think it's to settle down. I'm moving a little less slow. I'm sitting back a little bit more. I'm not as tense, and all of a sudden, that's why I think that's what the trigger is in the bodies, because we got 2 more months of personal health and personal bodies and stuff like that. That's going to go crazy.
Yes, I think we're making the conscious cuts, and I think the body follows,
Yeah,
a couple beats after. It takes a little while for that to clear out. But I do think that something will happen in late January. There'll be a bit of a gold rush of some sort.
yeah, I
So
believe so. I, I,
looking at the
I
planets,
honestly, I think it's just like the gold rush in California. It wasn't the people with the gold. It was people with the pickaxe and shovels. And I think that's where our genre, which is we're supplying people with picks, axe, and shovels.
yeah.
I believe that's where our messages take off. I mean, we've been doing pretty good from a message taking off, but I don't even feel like we're scratching the surface. I think that's going to come. That's going to come in late January.
Well, I agree. And actually, I think anyone who's watching now, I think you're a pioneer. So I just want to say that. I think you're ahead of the curve. You're ahead of your peers. You're probably meant to be a
Yeah.
leader. You're probably meant to be an influencer in your own right. You're meant to be an influencer in your own life. The people that have been showing up for our content are the future leaders of the world. The real customers start pouring in the door, I think, come Aquarius next year. That's when the game is
There's
on.
about there's about 10 or 12, 29 degrees in this chat right now.
Oh, really? Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
and you had spoken to this. I'm going to come, so we'll work out the time. I like to come to your 29-degree group, support group. Also, just because it's turning into a thing. Like we're getting emails in our customer service, like, "Where's the 18 support group?" I'm like, "Oh, Kerr, I'm in it. Here we go, 30 support groups." You know what I mean?
You know
Like,
what?
but it's
What
good.
here's the
I'm not
beauty about it
complaining.
is
I'm
that
just realizing the work involved. I'm like, wow, it's going to be
yeah,
30
but
groups.
our way of doing it is I say start it,
Mm-hmm.
just start it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we'll show up once in a while because at
Right.
this
Don't,
point,
don't
what
wait
our
for us.
realization was is that we have all of these. Okay, we were like, oh, do we certify people as coaches and practitioners, or we can't? There's no way we can even do what's already out there. We'd have a lineup for 5 years off of what's already out there. We never get it done. So that means that all the new people can't have that help or support. So what we're doing is we're saying start a class in your city. Show us that you're serious. Put the numbers up. Pass us videos or pictures of your group. Get your guys on social media. Help other people. Show us doing that, and we'll show up where you are. So what we're doing is we're pouring gasoline on sparks right now.
Well, that's a great idea. That's brilliant. That's the only way to do it. And that's how a re-evolution happens
Yeah,
anyways. Because it can't funnel through three or four
yeah.
choke points. It has
And,
to
and
just,
and to be honest with you, I don't want my version of what it looks like to be the only version.
right.
Because
Yes.
that means that I've been looking at this for one way for so long, and there are people out there that come in and blow my mind every day. They go, oh, let's just do it like that. And I'm like, I never even thought of that. How did that happen? I've been looking at this for like 20 years. I never thought of that. That's one simple thing. And so I want the growth. We want the growth to come from just enabling people, giving them the tools and letting them go. So like in that group, what we're just doing is putting together a Telegram channel. Here it is. And then what we do is we give them the best practices. Here's how you do it. Here's how you monitor it. Here's the different things. Set up your group. And when it's rocking, we'll come knocking.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll say, and this is a shameless plug, but the Truth and Purpose program right now in Serious Joy, the feedback I'm getting is so priceless with people running off in their own direction and their own interpretation. You can't pay for, a focus study to
I
that
got people
level.
that didn't even know astrology 3 weeks ago. Now they're telling me about their moon and their conjunctions and stuff like this, and this is why they're this way. And I'm like, you don't need me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's always that fear, but there's also in the same sense, like, oh, cool. Now I can move on to the stuff
Oh
I
no,
want to move on
that's
to.
totally. You don't need me anymore. Thank
Yeah,
God. I'm gone. Yeah,
yeah,
because
totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So listen. For people that want to do that, they can sign up for the app. They can go to our page,
Yep.
our website, and under products and then partners, you can find Serious Joy, and you can still get in and do the Truth and Purpose. And the way
Yep.
I tell people to do it this level is do your day every day today, and go back and then do day 0, and then next day do your next day, and go back and do day 1. So you get the balance, because it's the mechanics of using the information,
Yep.
not it's really, because once you use it, then you go, oh, that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, totally. It's not time sensitive. So, as my other programs have been, so you can definitely go back. And really it's a once in a lifetime thing. Like once you know yourself, it changes your whole world.
Oh, by the way, so my group here, because they've got all of our lifestylers 28-day resets. They got their own 40-day of truth purpose. They've got their own Telegram channel set up,
Oh,
by the
no,
way.
no kidding.
And they've taken all of your data and they put it into a self-generating spreadsheet that creates statements, so that
Oh,
it actually
wow.
writes a statement for it. So I'll get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
I just
Thank you.
found out yesterday.
Oh, that's great. I'm actually tweaking some of the language too, so I'd love their feedback actually, because as I'm getting feedback, I'm realizing it can be expressed this way or that way. There's
Yeah,
fine tuning. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I would
Well,
love
Chris,
that. Look forward to it.
this is going to be a fun week. I finally feel like the monkey's off my back. So looking forward for Wednesday, looking forward for Friday and Saturday, and then of course next Monday when we talk, it's
The new moon next Monday. Yeah, we'll come back and we'll give our new moon report. So it's always a pleasure, Gary, and it's always a pleasure to be in front of your community too. Thank you. And yeah, it looks lovely out there behind you. Hello, Cynthia. Hello,
Sending
darling.
love and
Hello.
hugs.
I'm
I'm feeling
outside
it.
because inside because they're doing construction across the way, and it's like
Still looks alluring. Okay, brother. We'll see you next
okay,
week.
take care.
Bye, everyone. Ciao for
Bye
now.
bye. Okay, there's our forecast for the week, and it looks like Wednesday's the day it changes. So if you haven't done it yet, go try it out. Go to our website, go to Products and Partners and Serious Joy. Try the Serious Joy app. It's a web-based app. You can use it on your computer, on your phone. It'll give you 7 messages a day, right to your phone or to your email, that help you stay on track for the day. Again, you can try it for $3.99 for the first month. If it doesn't resonate, just quit. And right now you can get into that 40 days of truth and purpose, and you can actually, there's a cipher there that lets you read any astrology chart. And you become an astrologer with a cipher instantaneously overnight. Tomorrow we have CO Tuesdays, and we're going to be doing some breath work coming up. We have some stuff lined up this week. We have Raw Reality Wednesdays, of course, every Wednesday. And now we have Claire Crawley, Bachelorette number 16. And last week was, holy smokes, so thank you for Ruby Jean out there. I was a tearjerker talking about implants and why to have them, and the desire around it, and how it felt. That was super powerful. And if you haven't done it yet, go drink your own urine. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.